Hey everyone, it's Tattooed Simmer back with another speed build. This speed build I did for Witching Mermaid's 500 follower shell challenge. This challenge was a bunker challenge, so I made the entire thing underground, and I didn't want to go with a traditional style of bunker because I felt like that was where everyone else was going to go with it, so I decided to build an underwater home. Unfortunately, with The Sims, you can only build one level of pool under the ground, so you only see the water from the first level. The basement levels just are there. They don't have windows or anything like that, so it kind of still fits into the bunker theme, but I really wish you could make pools deeper at least, because you can't see through the houses into the ponds if you use the pond tool. So I used the pool tool instead just so you could look out into the pool. I did a whole lot of landscaping on this build. It's pretty much mostly landscaping and interior work, since couldn't really do anything with the shell itself since it was supposed to be a bunker. I took a bunch of the stone ruins from the cottage living pack and placed them around so I could get a sort of Atlantis underwater lost city vibe for the build. I wasn't sure if I wanted that back part to be just a garden that you saw or something that you could go into, but I decided to make it open so that you could walk back there. Now I'm just putting windows down there so you can see out into the water. The first section I decided to make into the entryway with the stairs, and then the other section at the top is the living room with the bathroom, and then below that you'll have the kitchen and then all the bedrooms. So put lights on the ends of all the corners of the fences up here so you can kind of see when you got around. I also decided to put some statues in the water just to also add to that sort of lost city feel I was going for. I went with the Realm of Magic fountain. I really like that fountain. I actually use it in a lot of my builds because it's like an appropriate size. I feel like a lot of the fountains are either way too big or way too small. I built this lot. One of the rules was you could only use a 20 by 20 or a 20 by 15. So I built it on the island lot in Tartosa, the pack that came with my wedding stories. So if you're wondering if you want to place it yourself, you can place it there, you can place it anywhere else, but it is on a 20 by 20 lot. So not a very big lot, not a very big build, but there actually ends up being 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms with an office. So there's actually a lot of space inside, even though it doesn't look like it from the outside. The outside pretty much is just the pool and the entryway. And then I also decided when I was filling the pool that I wanted to put some alligators and stuff like that in there, so that's really fun. If you decide to play in it, you will see the alligators pop up every so often in the water. I was kind of sad when I was playtesting stuff that you can get in the pool and you can swim around everywhere, but the alligators don't really interact with you at all. You also can't see them if you're inside the house. You can only see them from the top level if you're up there. I decided, as well as the fountain, I would add some statues for a little statue garden back here. And then I also ended up adding a clothesline and a wash bucket so that you could do your laundry up here, and a little place to sit and relax, to be outside since there's like pretty much no windows in the house. Little pathway leading up to all of it, and then that's pretty much all I did for the top entryway. The interior plants, I just kind of chose a few green plants, a couple with color on them, but color isn't really underwater, so I wasn't that worried about it. I just wanted to see a little pop of color when you look through the windows. I'm sure you've also probably noticed that my face is up in the corner for a little bit of this video. I did some of this video on stream. Wishing Mermaid was actually there on stream, along with a few other people that I follow closely on Instagram. So if you haven't checked her out, you should go check her out. I also did one of her previous shell challenges, and that speed build is also on my channel under the shell challenges section if you want to go check that out. So I wanted to make this pool look really overgrown and kind of try and make the house disappear so that you couldn't tell that somebody lived under there. That's pretty much the only part of the entire build that is bunker style. I didn't obey. I guess there wasn't a rule, so I didn't have to obey it. She didn't say that it had to be off the grid or, you know, you weren't living off of any means other than your own, so I just put whatever furniture I wanted in there. I tried to make the wallpaper and the tiling underwater-esque. I thought it looked a little bit like fish scales, the tile I ended up using. So everything's it's a pretty expensive lot to live in for a 20 by 20 lot because I just used things that I thought looked nice and fancy, and maybe it's King Triton or somebody like that that lives down here. So I didn't quite do a literal bunker, but the build is underground, so I feel like it does meet the challenge in that regard. I kept the grass on the inside of the entryway. I like to use the wall decoration for wall bars as a bike rack, so I did that on the outside with the bikes. Did a little seating, couple fountains, so it's nice when you walk down. Have the doors open just because you're underwater. It doesn't really matter if it's open or shut doors. And then this first box is the living room. Like I said, I kind of chose a tile that reminded me of mermaids or underwater type theme. I chose to use bookshelves around all these windows so that you could like look through the bookshelves and see through the water, but you also had a lot of built-ins, a lot of places to store things in this build. Those have become my new favorite bookshelves from the Werewolves pack just because they're the perfect height for medium height walls. You can see through them. They look really rustic. I like to do a lot of rustic builds, so I've ended up using those a lot in my builds. This rug I actually didn't know existed because I don't use that rug very often, but I really like it, and I think it's going to be one that I keep using pretty often because it's pretty plain and simple. It's just black and white rug, can go pretty much any house. Obviously, I had to put the underwater painting in there. I used the pastel pop hall table and I cluttered it with a bunch of boxes and more things to store it with. I like to do a lot of boxes and storage spaces in bunker type builds because I feel like they probably have a lot of crap because they're going to have to live down there. I'm really happy with the way the living room turned out. I love the sectionals. I love those new like one coffee mug or the triple coffee mugs from the clutter kit that you can just place around. Really just makes it look like people actually live in the houses instead of just like staged homes in ads, you know? I love stuff that looks lived in. Those are my favorite type of things to build, things to clutter. I find myself actually enjoying interiors now more that we have more stuff to clutter with. I think that it makes it so much more fun. So that kit was worth it. If you haven't gotten the Everyday Clutter kit, I would definitely get that one. It helps with interior stuff so much. I also love the Maximalist kit. I know people have mixed opinions about that, but I use that kit so often. I love the wallpaper. I love that lamp. That lamp is a favorite that I use quite frequently. the Blooming Rooms kit because I love plants. I use that kit quite frequently. I know a lot of people really hate kits, but as a console player, I love them because I can't get CC, and so it's kind of like individualized things that if I don't want, I don't have to buy them. So, like, I don't have any but the 90s throwback fit kit because I don't care that much about casts, and so it wasn't like I had to purchase an entire expansion pack to get those build items I really wanted. And then end up with a bunch of stuff that I really don't use that much. So that's why I like kits. I know that's probably a controversial opinion to some people, but you know, if you don't live your life on the edge, then it's not any fun. So I also know that recently we had a big console update, and it's not in this video, but the next speed build I have should have the new key system in the video, so you'll kind of see how they've changed the console keys and the way that the console looks. In my speed builds, it'll look a little bit different because the categories will always be at the bottom open. They changed a lot of our keys in order to save. A lot of console players are really upset by this. I am okay with it for now. There are some glitches that I don't really care for, but I'm hoping they will fix it to make everybody happy. I do play on a newer generation console, and I've heard that the older generations are far worse in terms of how they're functioning now after the update, and I feel really terrible for those players because, you know, console players play on console a lot of times because they don't have access to a computer, and that also means that they don't have access to the newer generation consoles. I know when I got my PlayStation 5, it was extremely difficult. We had wanted one for a long time, and I was financially able to get one, and that's not most people's situation. So they really, I think, need to get that problem fixed for those people who are really having issues with it. Luckily, I'm not having a lot of issues with it. I'm still able to build pretty well, pretty fast. But let me know in the comments if you guys play on console, if you're having issues, or if you don't play on console, if you have any other questions about the changes, or why we're having so many issues. Anything, really. Just let me know. I'd love to hear from any of you guys. Also, let me know what you guys think about the new expansion pack that's coming out in the middle of March. I am super excited. I knew that they were going to be doing a Generations pack for a minute, but I didn't want to get my hopes up, and then we got glimpses that it was Generations. Then with this new bathroom clutter kit, there's dentures, and so I was super hopeful that we weren't just dealing with infants and that we would do something for elders, at least in an update or in a new pack in some way. And so I'm glad that in the trailer it seems like elders will have a little bit more to do. Like, it seemed like there was some sort of an adult care facility where you could go and do puzzles, which I am just so excited for because I love doing puzzles in real life. And I always remember going with my mom to work. She used to be an administrator at adult care facilities, and I would do puzzles with the residents, and I'm just so glad they're adding that into the game. I'm also glad they added medical devices and more things for trans people in the game. That was also super awesome. I think it was really sad that they didn't talk about the update more in the summit than they talked about Project Renee and the mobile app, because I felt like the update and all of those things we got were a little bit more important than the summit, but that's just a personal opinion. So, moving on, I guess we'll go back to the build. This room, you can see, is almost finished. This is supposed to be like a teen girls room. The bathroom isn't attached to the bedroom. It's just kind of right there as you go down the stairs, so you can go to the bathroom from the kitchen. Also, the parents' bedroom is going to end up being downstairs, right under the stairs, and then there's a room for bunk beds, so you should be able to have a total of 6 Sims in here if you want to. I would play with 5 in here. And then there also ends up being an extra room that I didn't know what I wanted to use it for exactly. I was going to have it be sort of like a dry storage for a bunker, and then I realized I didn't really put any sort of computer space in the build, and I was like, do I need a computer space? It's a bunker build. Maybe they don't have computers. I don't really know how that works. But you need a computer for activities and skills and everything like that in the game. So I decided to put an office in the final room in this build instead of a dry storage area. I thought that the office would work a little bit better. I think it turned out really nice. This is the parents' bedroom, just a double bed, a bunch of shelves on the walls for books and storage again, like I said. I ended up going with some open dressers, and this was more of a chic mermaid underground home. I don't really know. I don't really know what the vibe ended up being. I just kept picking things that looked kind of fancy but not too fancy, and putting them in the build. I like the way that it turned out. It is definitely a lot different build than what I normally do. You know, I normally do farmhouses and cottages and builds from TV shows or movies, so this was something I actually had to get creative on and use my brain for, which I do really enjoy occasionally. If you guys don't know, I am going to be in the Builder games again. This is my 3rd time. I'm personally choosing to have this be the last time. I don't know how many times they let you come back, but it shouldn't be more than 3. I don't know why they let me come back again. I've had my chance, but last season I felt like I kind of chose to disobey the rules, and if I would have just followed the rules, I could have gotten to the finale again. So I'm excited that they let me come back and be a part of this season, the season of stories. Super, super excited. I've got my intro build started. I've got the first build started. I also decided to do a build to kind of go along with the intro build that's based on a book turned movie that I was just absolutely obsessed with as a kid. So look forward to that. I'm making a speed build out of that later also, and this is pretty much the end of this video. So thank you for coming and listening to me ramble and watching me make this cool underwater bunker. Bye guys.